Hello friends, welcome back. I'm Beth, here to help you fulfill your potential in meditation. As most of you know, I don't have just one method that I teach to everybody, like one size fits all. Instead, I much prefer to teach people one-on-one. And the reason is that you're all different. So please use these videos as a guideline, and if there's anything that isn't quite working for you or anything that doesn't quite fit, then be in touch and I'll be more than happy to discuss those things with you one-on-one. Today's video is about the undoing or the ending of the 12 links of dependent origination. Now, it goes without saying that in order to understand the undoing of the 12 links of dependent origination, we first need to understand what those 12 links are. Now, I've made separate videos on those 12 links of dependent origination and how they work. So if you haven't done so already, I'd suggest that you go away and watch those videos. Do the practice if you can, so that this one will be super clear to you. Now, as we know, the 12 links of dependent origination are working to keep us in a cycle of suffering, life after life after life. So when we see how this cycle is working, the natural question arises, how do we bring this cycle to an end? And that's what we're going to speak about today, and how we discern this in our practice. Now, in order to discern this practically, we already need to be familiar with discerning future nama and rupa. Again, I've made a separate video on how to discern nama and rupa, materiality, mentality, in the future. So if you're not already familiar with that process, then I'd suggest again that you watch that video and have a go at the practice if you can, so that this will be really clear to you. So we're ready to discern the undoing of dependent origination. Where do we start? Well, we want to start by discerning future materiality and mentality into the future of this life, and then the future of the next life, and the next life, and so on. And we want to continue discerning the future until we find the end, until we realize that we can't discern into the future anymore. When we find that end point, the ending point in the future of nama and rupa, we found our parinibbana. We found the end of our cycle of suffering. Now, what does it mean when we find our parinibbana? It means that after that moment there will be no more re-arising of nama and rupa, because sometime in that lifetime we have attained arahantship. We have attained full liberation. So what we want to do in our practice is go back and forth in that final lifetime until we can find the point where we attain arahantship. Now, I should remind you all that when we are discerning future nama and rupa, it can change. And the reason is that every moment we are putting in new causes and conditions that will change the course of the future. So when we discern the future, we're just discerning one possible version of the future based on current causes and conditions. So we shouldn't take it for granted that this will definitely be when we will attain arahantship, but it's one possible version of when that will happen. So we find our final life in which the nama and the rupa ends. We discern backwards and forwards in that life until we find the point in that life where we attain arahantship. Now, if we've really found the point where we attain arahantship, then we should notice that after that point, we notice no more defilements in the chain of mentality. So all of the mind moments that arise after that arahantship point will be free from any kind of defilement. And especially, there will be no more delusion. We should check that a few times by discerning from that arahantship point through until the end of the life, backwards and forwards several times, checking that we don't discern any kind of defilement remaining. When we're sure that we found that arahantship point, then we're ready to see the undoing of these 12 links of dependent origination. And actually seeing the undoing of these 12 links is very simple, because what we're actually discerning is absence. And so, the first link of dependent origination, if you'll remember, is avijja paccaya sankhara, delusion as the cause or condition for karmic actions. Now we can see that there is no delusion. And because there is no delusion, none of the actions that we do past this arahantship point can produce a future life. There will be no abhisankhara, because there is no delusion, there is no me and mine surrounding the remaining actions that we do. The remaining actions that we do after the point of arahantship are what we call karmically neutral or functional. They do not produce any new karma. We can then take the second link of dependent origination, sankhara paccaya viññānam, and we can see that all of the actions that we do past that arahantship point cannot produce future consciousness. When there is no production of future consciousness, then the remaining links of dependent origination untangle by themselves, because there is no consciousness producing namarupa and so on. So that's how we discern the undoing of the 12 links of dependent origination, discerning into the future, finding the last life, finding the arahantship point, and then seeing with our wisdom that once arahantship has been attained, the 12 links of dependent origination cannot continue anymore. So if anything's unclear to you, if there's anything you're unsure about, then be in touch with me. I'll be more than happy to discuss the details with you one-on-one. But for now, it's time to get off of those screens, get onto the cushions and actually do some practice. This is a fascinating stage of practice, and moreover, it's important for us to make a remainderless ending of all suffering. It's possible, so let's not waste time. As most of you know, I do all of my work on a donation basis. So I encourage you to support me either through Patreon or through my website so that I can continue to make these videos. Thank you so much for your support. Wishing you the best with your meditation.